Hello everyone, this is Revilers from 40k Theories, and welcome to this new episode of 40k Lore for Newcomers. For this episode, nominated on Patreon by The Mecha Knight, we will be taking a brief look at the Revilers Space Marine chapter. This video will be a brief overview for certain events that may be explored in greater depth within additional videos in the future. So without further ado, let's begin.
Let the repentant enjoy a merciful end.
The Revilers are a loyalist chapter of the Adeptus Astartes descended from the highly renowned Raven Guard Legion. Like all Space Marines, each member of the Revilers is a genetically enhanced transhuman super soldier that is larger, stronger, and more durable than a baseline human. The Battle Brothers of the Revilers chapter, much like their primogenitors within the Raven Guard, are experts in the fields of stealth, ambush, and guerrilla warfare, and thanks to the skill and tenacity of the chapter's warriors, the Revilers have foiled the plots and schemes of many a foe. The Revilers, even by the standards of other loyalist chapters, harbour an intense hatred towards the traitor legions, due to their crimes against not only the Emperor, but against their parent legion too. Despite the fierce vendetta that the chapter holds, or perhaps even because of it, the Revilers are regarded as being worthy heirs to the legacy forged by their Primarch, Corvus Corax. However, this legacy inherited by the chapter also includes a number of genetic flaws, and as a result, the gene seed of the Revilers has deteriorated further and further over the millennia. Because of this genetic degradation, the amount of stable gene seed within the possession of the Revilers is precariously low, meaning that it is vital for the chapter's apothecaries to preserve the genetic material of every slain battle brother. Regardless, the Revilers have proven time and again to be steadfast defenders of the Imperium, serving as one of the Emperor's hidden blades waiting for the perfect moment to strike.
Those who scale the pinnacles of glory have the furthest to plunge into the abyss.
The modern-day Revilers chapter can trace their origins back to the civil war known as the Horus Heresy, as their foundations would be laid in blood during the course of what would become known as the Isstvan V drop site massacre. The Raven Guard, alongside 6 other legions of the Legione Astartes, would be dispatched to the world in order to put an end to the nascent rebellion orchestrated by the Imperial Warmaster and Primarch of the Sons of Horus Legion, Horus Lupercal. However, over 90% of the Raven Guard would be utterly destroyed when 4 of the 7 legions sent to put an end to Horus' scheme declared themselves for the Warmaster, turning upon the loyalist Salamanders, Iron Hands, and Raven Guard. Luckily, thanks to the timely arrival of a relief force led by Commander Bran Nev, a small number of Raven Guard warriors, including their Primarch Corvus Corax, would manage to escape the carnage. Despite the traitor's best efforts, these embittered survivors managed to break out of the Isstvan system before making their journey to Terra. Following the culmination of the Heresy, Rabute Guilliman, the Primarch of the Ultramarines Legion, would pen a text known as the Codex Astartes, which would see the remainder of the loyalist Space Marine legions being broken down into a number of smaller chapters, leading to the creation of the Second Founding. This was done in the hopes of preventing another large-scale conflict such as the Horus Heresy from ever happening again, by limiting the amount of power wielded by a Space Marine commander. Many of the Raven Guard veterans that survived the events of the Drop Site Massacre would be formed into an entirely new chapter, resulting in the creation of the modern-day Revilers. The Revilers have neither forgotten nor forgiven those legions that betrayed the Raven Guard upon Isstvan V, and harbour an intense desire for revenge even to this day.
Speed the bolt that brings the end of enemy and friend.
Over the course of their existence, the Revilers have partaken in numerous conflicts against the enemies of man, such as the Molov Massacre, the Azov Drop, and even being engaged in a prolonged shadow war against the insidious Alpha Legion. It has even been claimed that the Revilers aided Imperial forces during the course of the 13th Black Crusade. While there is little evidence to support this claim, it is possible that one or two squads may have lent their strength to the defense of Cadia during this particularly violent conflict. One of the more notable conflicts that the Revilers are known to have participated in was the one known as the Baron War. In late M40, an Orc war led by the warlord Arbuts would launch an invasion of the Exodite world of Baron, with the world's defenders being overwhelmed by the sheer number of Orcs. This world would form the core of a vast Orc empire that would eventually spread throughout the Zypher subsector. After centuries of the Orcs striking out against nearby Imperial worlds, the Imperium would launch a mass counteroffensive against the Orcs, dispatching forces from the Raven Guard, Revilers, Marauders, and Eagle Warriors chapters of the Adeptus Astartes, as well as numerous Death Corps of Krieg regiments of the Astra Militarum. This conflict would rage for over 20 years, with Imperial and Xenos forces reaping a bloody toll upon one another. Eventually, the subsector was declared as being mostly free from Orcish taint, with even the world of Baron being purged of the Xenos. Thanks to the efforts of the Revilers, Imperial colonists would begin to settle upon the world, whilst a small number of Raven Guard would remain to hunt down a number of surviving Orc war bosses, as well as to contend against the small populations of feral Orcs that remained. Sensing that their task had been completed, the Revilers would leave the Zypher subsector. Little did the chapter realise, however, that their brothers within the Raven Guard would soon come into conflict with the vengeful forces of the Eldari of Craftworld Bieltan, who sought to reclaim the sector's worlds for their people. Those elements of the Raven Guard throughout the region would ultimately be destroyed by the Xenos, and one cannot help but wonder if events would have been different had the Revilers also been present.
The lot of courage is to be sacrificed on the altar of battle.
Little is known about the recruitment processes and beliefs of the Revilers chapter, although they are suspected to be at least superficially similar to those demonstrated by the Raven Guard. Much like their primogenitors, the gene seed of the Revilers suffers from a number of distinct aberrations. The implants of the Revilers demonstrate an unusually high percentage of being rejected by an aspirant's body. This in turn forces the chapter to rely primarily upon purer, genetically stable stocks drawn from Terra's gene vaults for the purpose of creating new Astartes. This causes the chapter's recruitment and gene seed implantation process to be a far slower and more carefully measured affair, and as a result, the Revilers are speculated to frequently operate whilst under strength. The gene seed of the chapter is no longer capable of producing the Betcher's gland or mucranoid organs, preventing the Revilers from producing acidic saliva and making it more difficult for the chapter's warriors to operate in extreme environments. In addition, the melanchromic organ of the chapter displays its own defects, causing the skin of a Reviler Marine to become deathly pale like many of the Raven Guard. This in turn also has the side effect of darkening an aspirant's hair and eyes, resulting in them becoming an oily black in colour. Thanks to being drawn from Raven Guard stock, the gene seed of the Revilers, despite the numerous flaws it contains, is known to be far more stable than a number of other second founding chapters. And that concludes this episode of 40k Lore for Newcomers. If you like this video, consider supporting us on Patreon for more content. To those who are new to 40k, we hope you learned something. So leave a comment below, and thanks for watching.